I guess let's go straight to Keith.
Hey, let's get to it. I mean, let's go ahead and start with the questions.
Keith's a busy man. You know, we want to hold him up here.
Keith, first question: When are you? First of all, thanks for being on the show today with us. We really appreciate you coming on. When are you planning on leaving?
I'm going to be leaving on Thursday morning. Should get to Guntersville around 4 o'clock, so we can practice on Friday.
Hey, so y'all practice. I know they've kind of changed the practice schedule up a little bit this year. Practice is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, correct?
Right. Yes. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then we have 2 days off. We got another day back on the water on Wednesday, and then Thursday's off, and then Friday is the beginning of the Classic.
Now, is this something, Keith, day off or on, you're off, you're on? I mean, is that something new? I haven't recalled that being that way in the past, that often on and off.
No, that's how it's always been. It's a long, drawn-out week. It gives you plenty of time to prepare, and, the days off are not really days off. There's a lot of media and a lot of meetings and meet and greets and other things that we have to do that week. So it's a really busy week, even though it's a long, drawn-out week. It's going to be fun. Well,
and I guess sponsors are tugging at everybody on both ends, trying to do interviews with sponsors and promote product. You know, the Classic is where a lot of new product is revealed. Is there something coming out, Keith, that you can talk about, maybe with Strike King, that's could be a big player in this year's Classic?
Strike King has some new colors that I have tied on, especially like against square bills. The Thunder Cricket was unveiled at the ICAST, but it's still a fairly new bait, not one that everybody has put in their arsenal just yet. So, those two, the new colors of the square bills, I think, and some of the other baits that they came out with in the last few years, like the 4.0, things like that, those could play really big. Shimano's got the new Metanium out. I mean, there's some new stuff, but it's not – they've already unveiled them, but I think a lot of them will just become available at the Classic.
Mm-hmm. Keith, I know Alabama's got a lot of rain, as we all have across here in the South. I know it's going to be a little bit of high water, muddy water conditions. Have they said anything to you guys? I mean, how much high water does Guntersville have over there?
I don't know. I've been trying to kind of keep up with that online, but it's kind of hard to really understand the situation. I think everything's going to be good. It doesn't flood like some of the, our flood control lakes around Texas area. But I think we'll definitely be dealing with a very, very full Guntersville, probably some stained water.
I know Pickwick and Wheeler above is just absolutely full to the banks and sending a lot of water down. That's why I kind of was asking that question. I didn't know if BAS had emailed you guys anything on any of that or notified you.
What's Plan B if it has to be moved? Do you know a Plan B?
I think we're going to have the tournament at Guntersville.
Gotcha.
I think that's where it's going to be scripted, and I don't think we'll have any issues. I've been kind of watching the forecast, and I know there's some more rain kind of coming, but nothing really like what we've had over the past couple weeks. So I think we're good to go. But no, I don't know of any Plan B, but I couldn't imagine any way we're not going to have this thing at Guntersville. And I'll tell you what I have been keeping up with over there is the weights of some of the other tournaments that they've been having, and it's setting up to be a really good tournament, and we'll probably get that record breaker tournament that everybody's been talking about.
Are we talking the 100-pound mark for this event?
Well, it'd just be 3 days.
If it was a 4-dayer, I would say there's a good possibility. But, being 3 days, the record as far as classics go is still in the 60s, in the 60-pound range.
Right.
For 3 days. But the couple tournaments that I've been kind of looking at online, just the weights, that there's been 20 bags over 20 caught. And those are team tournaments, and I know that's 2 guys throwing, but the guys in the Classic are going to get it right also, and that means we're going to see a lot of 20-pound bags, and we're probably going to see a couple 30s, maybe a few 30s. So it's going to be exciting.
Is this a lake that, some lakes fish smaller than others? Is this a lake that fish is small and guys are going to come be on top of each other, or can you get away from people?
No, you can. I think you can get away from other competitors, especially, the classic field is 50. So there's a good chance that you might fish a full day and only see a few of your competitors. But, Guntersville is a big public lake, and it gets a tremendous amount of pressure. It's like Rayburn. So that's another thing that, it's just another variable of fishing, and it's one that you'll have to deal with. Guntersville has a tremendous amount of local pressure, so you're going to be around boats if you're catching fish.
Keith, real quick, the one thing on Guntersville, and I was there at the last Classic on Guntersville that Randy Howell won, the drive from where you guys weigh in. I mean, you're an hour and a half to the boat round, or roundabout hour and a half to where y'all be putting in and where y'all launch from and come back in from and drive. And y'all have to get up so early to leave. You have to drive all the way back in the evenings. I mean, just give me your opinion on that drive. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm super glad and super excited we're having this thing on Guntersville. And Birmingham is the closest way, but, man, that really has to take a wear and tear on you guys.
Yeah, it does require some special planning. Like what we're doing, and this is the same thing we did last time, is we're going to stay at the lake so we don't have to get up. I mean, we're like 5 minutes from the launch, so we're going to be staying very close. But what's going to happen is after you weigh your fish, you'll need to come back to Birmingham. So it's not as bad as it sounds. Typically in the Classic, the weigh-in is long and drawn out, so that gives you some time backstage in your boat to kind of prep tackle for the next day, stay on top of that. So last time, after I weighed, we did a little bit of media, and then we pretty much headed straight back to the house, relaxed for a little bit, and then got to sleep in. So it worked out really good. It is a long drive, but, what is important to everybody, not just bass, but everybody who's fishing the Classic and all the vendors, is that we have a lot of fans, a huge attendance at the Classic. I mean, that's the reason I want to make the Classic every year, so I can drive into that arena and see thousands of people that came to watch fishing. So I'm glad that it's in Birmingham. That's where it needs to be. And, I'll put up with the hour drive just to see that.
Absolutely.
On the phone with us, we got Keith Combs, Elite Series Pro, Bassmaster Classic qualifier for 2020. And Keith will be in this event coming up first week in March. And, Keith, this being the 50th anniversary, I know BAS has a lot planned for this event, I'm sure, in terms of celebration and special recognition, blah, blah, blah. But it also means spectators. And you got spectator boats on the water. How and what advice would you like to go ahead and put out there right now? There's a lot of people listening to this broadcast today. What advice would you give to those anglers that may be listening, looking to come and observe, maybe follow you on the water? Any advice or any rules that you have that, hey, this is what I need y'all to do for me?
Well, number one, I think we all can appreciate people actually coming out and they do and watching us fish. So that makes it fun. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's just one more way for us to kind of grow our brand and promote our sponsors. But there are some things that people can do to be courteous. We're only there for a few days, so I guess the only thing that I've had a few issues with in the past is sometimes you'll hit a place multiple times during the day. So if you see an angler pulling on a place and he catches a couple fish and then moves on, I wouldn't just assume that he's got a million places. He's not going to come back there, and then somebody pulls in and just starts fishing his water. But that would be good if people could just give us that little bit of extra courtesy. And 99% of everybody that I've ever ran into, as far as spectators, they are very courteous. But just keep in mind that we're just trying to win this Classic and bring in the biggest bag that we can. So just try to work with us and let us do that. But we understand. I mean, it's a public lake, and people want to be on Guntersville in the spring catching big ones just like we do. So it's all good. I mean, it's just something that we have to work around.
Right. Right.
Well, Keith, let's jump over to Sam Rayburn. Your home body of water there, and January, early February, everybody was kind of the rumors were starting to get out. That is Rayburn on a decline? What problems do we have going on here? Some really low weights in tournaments, and then all of a sudden, bam! Back-to-back weekends, we get a 40-pound stringer weighed, and then a 49-pound stringer weighed. Just kind of give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I heard some people, saying that, the weights don't look good on Rayburn. They're missing an age class. I mean, the lake's on a decline. That's just simply not true. I mean, the one thing, if you look at Rayburn every year, I mean, I don't get to fish the lake as much as I would like to, but I keep up with everything that goes on out there. And when Rayburn has a lot of grass, fishing is good. The fishing in the grass is good. The fishing deep is good. The fishing in between is good. Mm-hmm. In the 10 to 15 foot range. Basically, because fish are in a constant move. There's groups of fish moving in the grass, and there's groups of fish moving back out. So the whole lake just stays fired. Right now, there's not a lot of grass at the north end, which is kind of making that end fish a little bit more difficult. But that mid lake region, that lower region of the lake that has grass. We're seeing the big weights, but the main thing people just need to understand it. Rayburn's not in bad shape. It's just different than we've had the last few years when we had all the grass at the north end. Obviously, the fish are still in there. I mean, we're seeing record-breaking bags that we haven't seen in a long time, so that tells you something. But in that same tournament, second place was 30, third was 26. The guys who won with the 49. They didn't even win big bass. So, to make the lake's in pretty good shape.
To make the top 21 or really top 22, you had to have over 17 pounds. So, right. And that was the best weekend that we have seen since January 1 to this date. That's been the best weekend. But again, Keith, as fishermen, we tend to rush everything. Well, I know this year more tournaments started early on Rayburn. I know the BFL that me and Kevin fish, some other circuits, ABA. They all started basically a month earlier. And guys, I don't think we're really used to fishing Rayburn in January. But we've got a lot of tournaments in the books there. It's just now starting to get right at Rayburn.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you nailed it right there. January is not a great fishing month. But what we did have happen in January this year was we had a fairly warm month. Yep. I know that on another lake, I saw fish move close. Another lake very close to Rayburn, I saw fish move up on beds just for a brief period. Then they get knocked back, and that's never a really good thing. The best movement is when you have a very cold winter and then you have a very fast warm up and everything comes in at one time. That's when a lake just busts loose. So February was a cold month in comparison to January, and everybody's trying to get up there and try to catch spawning fish. I know I would be. I'm ready to catch those kind of fish, but water temperature's still in the mid 50s, low 50s. So you have to kind of adjust for that and stay out there a little bit deeper. And I'm pretty sure that's what the winners did with the 49 pounds.
Keith, I appreciate that. I want to jump right back to the Classic here. With the way it's setting up, is that going to be more of a moving bait type deal, shallow, or is it going to be a bridge thing? You think? I mean, going into practice,
will sight fishing come?
Well, I think it's still going to be too cold and rainy up there, a little early for up there. But what? And again, I know you haven't went to practice yet or gone to it, but what are you going into this thing thinking? How you're going to have to fish?
I do think it's going to be primarily a pre-spawn deal. I've been keeping a very close eye on the weather of Guntersville, and I know that it doesn't take a big warming trend to move fish up on that lake. I've been there when it's happened before, but it's the nighttime temperatures are in the 20s and 30s, and I think they might even have a little snow one day this week. So I do believe it's going to be a pre-spawn deal. But we have some other variables to consider too. You want to say, well, it's pre-spawn, the lake's stained, the fish are going to be shallow, but there's also a lot of added current right now with all the rain. So that can change things also. So I wouldn't be. I think most of the competition, most of the guys in the Classic are going to focus on shallow fish, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody catches something a little bit deeper than normal, just because the current and just kind of comes out of nowhere with that. So you got to keep that. You got to keep that as a wild card. There could be a deep water bite going too.
Well, Keith, we appreciate your time, buddy. We thank you for being on with us, Tackle Talk Live today, and got a great response. A lot of people listening, and again, we want to wish you nothing but the best of luck at over there at Guntersville in a couple of weeks, and really next week. It's not a couple of weeks; it's next week. And so, looking forward to following you. We'll be keeping up with it, and hopefully, when you win that, you got to come back on and tell us how you did it.
I would love to do that. Even if I don't win it, I hope I do, but I'd love to come back on. I enjoy talking to you guys, and y'all have a good one.
Thank
Keith,
you.
I appreciate it, man.
All right, thanks.
Keith Combs, Elite Series Bassmaster Classic qualifier, and a guy that, he's a threat.